Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the weekly kickoff. All right, now we've got a big week coming up. Obviously, the US election. It's going to take front and center, right? And it's going to dominate the financial markets for some time, at least a week, maybe a week and a half. They say maybe 3 or 4 days before after the election before we find out who's in charge. Now, just on the front of this, we've got the Federal Reserve, okay, due to cut rates by 0.25%. That's already factored in. We've got the Bank of England also cutting rates on the same day. That's 90% factored in. And we've got the RBA on Tuesday, keeping rates unchanged. That's 95% factored in as well, right? So you've got three of the major central banks coming out with stuff, but you know what? None of them are going to have much of an impact unless we hear some crazy statements, right? Out of all of them, might come out of the RBA, but they've been standing pretty tough. The just on that as well, the actual Swedes, it's a line ball decision whether they cut rates by 0.25 or not. 50 basis points, okay, 50%. So they're going to cut, but by how much if you're into the Riksbank? So just looking at the markets, right? We've had a bit of gapping on the open, right? Dollar index, I mean, across all the major pairs, euro, sterling, dollar Swiss, dollar CAD. I mean, dollar yen got to have some in there somewhere, as well as Aussie and, well, Kiwi. Maybe the market was already open for New Zealand and that just moved. So the reason for that was the polls, right? You got to take these with a grain of salt. But one of the early polls was suggesting Harris taking a surprise 3 point lead in Iowa, right? Largely part of the female vote, but that's it's a key election ground there. You know, whoever wins Iowa said it generally wins the election. So that's been a bit of a gap in the market. Obviously, the dollar strength coming through the market over the last couple of weeks has been attributed largely to Trump and the potential for Trump to get in, strong dollar policies that he's been spruiking for some time. All right. So now just having a look, I mean, we've got some major activity, right? So I was just talking to someone about the crosses, right? Euro crosses, sterling crosses. What do I think about those? Well, in a week like this, it's all going to be down to the major currency pairs, the equity indices, and the major instruments related to the US dollar, right? That's where the action is. So now, if I just come back, I'll get my risk on, risk off page back up. Okay, really keeping a close eye on what's going on. US equity markets are up. You know, the yields on the treasuries, they look like they've stalled. Okay, if anything, right? They're higher than where they were, but they're sort of just trading sideways. And that's allowing a risk off environment, right? Where you got euro, sterling, Aussie, Kiwi going up and the dollar going down, right? So the US treasuries pushed to the side at the moment. They may be impacted, obviously, with the election outcomes, but for now, they've gone to bed, which is good for us because we can get on with trading the currencies, the risk on, risk off pairs, commodities, safe havens, really with a bit of a focus on the, excuse me, US equity futures. That's where we are. So really, the week is going to be it's going to be pretty huge, right? You come down to the economic numbers, right? And this is going to be one of those weeks where you think, maybe we start to see the dollar sort of move around. It will, but it's not going to be on the fundamentals, right? On the economic data, we may see, euro, sterling, Aussie, Kiwi data, CAD data move it around, but not really the dollar at this point, right? And if I just sort of scroll through the week, there are bits and pieces here, but I can tell you that the market is focusing on just the US election news, right? As I said, there's three central banks coming up. Their outcomes are fully factored in, so don't think there's a massive surprise there. The ISM non-manufacturing numbers, worth having a look, right? See what's going on there. As I said, I think a lot of the data will be pushed aside, but still worth having a look. Kiwi employment numbers, definitely have a look at that. There's not many New Zealand numbers that come out each month. So, you know what? I think, and New Zealand data comes out at the end of the North American session. So there's a chance for it to sort of stand on its own 2 feet and the market just trade the numbers. CAD Ivy PMI, sort of just scrolling through is there's not like you're not jumping up and down going, yeah, I can't wait. The Bank of England, that's fully factored in, and there'll be no surprises there. The central banks aren't into making surprises at this point. Now, the rate cut for the US has been factored in, right? Now, usually, I can tell you, uh, pre-election, there's usually no change of rates. But you know what? The Fed have already signaled this so far out in advance that it won't be a surprise and it won't be an election issue, I don't think, right? So anyway, so we got, you got the Fed, the Bank of England. This would usually be a massive week, as in just from central banks. But as it is, it's going to be taken up with obviously the US election, Canadian employment numbers. Man, by Friday, right, the US election is going to be an overdrive. Do these numbers impact? Maybe a little bit, but you can't see too much of it going on. University of Michigan prelim numbers, once again, a really good number, but just coming out at the wrong time, at the same time as the geopolitical US election. All right. So big week, but just watch the flows, right? If you're in the European or North American sessions, keep a close eye on the equity markets. Bonds, maybe see if they're impacting, but the equities are driving the currencies at the moment, or the value of the dollar, right? So you want to be keeping a close eye on that. Obviously, keep a close eye on the news as it's coming out, breaking news in particular. Now, just a word of warning too, the news services, and I'm not sort of highlighting Bloomberg or Metastock, but CNN, all CNBC, all the big US news stations, right? They're running massive election polls. The polls are basically largely fictitious, right? So, and you can be sure if Kamala Harris is up today, then Donald Trump will be up tomorrow. They want to get people engaged. They want to see you watching the news. So you're going to get massively over the US election come the end of the week. But you know what? For us, it's important because a Trump victory is a strong dollar victory. Harris victory, we're going to see a sell off. So that's where we are at the moment. The market has already sort of shown us its true colors. The potential for a Kamala Harris, we're seeing a dollar unwind, and we are seeing, Euro sterling, Aussie Kiwi up. Dollar CAD, everything's starting to move downside, right? Even dollar Swiss looks good for a sell. So we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be pretty exciting. It is for me anyway. All right, guys, have a good one. All the best. Cheerio.